Thanks for tuning in to High on Horror. I'm Drew.
And I'm John. This episode and every future episode is dedicated to all the horror hounds and smokers out there who want to expand their knowledge of genre and have a good time.
Today we're taking a trip into virtual reality horror and reviewing Full Moon Features' 400th feature, Quadrant. With us, we have the legendary Charles Band. If you don't know who he is, you're going to find out shortly. And he's here to discuss his new film, Quadrant, and the new production label Pulp Noir. Stick around for all that and more today on High on Horror. Interviews, reviews, and the latest news all rolled into one. Alright, you know we're going to get into the goods before we get into the goods. So you know what that means if you listen all the time, and you know what time it is.
It's time for Strain Wreck, the segment of our show where we tell you what strain we're getting wrecked on. And I got us a power plant.
Power plant, all right.
Last time I heard power plant was WCW. Remember they used to have, that was their training facility, the power plant.
Yeah.
That's where they got Goldberg.
Goldberg.
Yeah,
the way you said that.
Power plant is a sativa marijuana strain made from African sativa. I don't know. I guess it's a hybrid. The strain produces a clear-headed, buzzy high that will make you feel happy and creative. Power plant has an aroma that is woody, earthy, and pungent. The taste is sharp and peppery. Growers say this strain has a fast growing time and will grow well in just about any environment. Due to its high potency, power plant, I always love this, power plant should only be should be used by consumers with a high THC tolerance. Feelings are talkative, energetic, and focused.
Okay.
And a couple reviews. I showed you that one earlier. That guy wrote like a fucking novel.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah, don't read that one.
Solid strain just made my heart race.
What, that was just a review?
Yep, that's all he said.
Okay.
This one makes me very relaxed and allows me to focus. For some reason, this makes me very, very sleepy also. I haven't while slept this much. Sleepiness occur only if there's much time between the hits. Also helped against binge eating.
Wait. Sleeping occurs only if there's enough time between hits? What are you, micro-napping in between puffs?
Yeah, I guess. And then this one, it said power plant, all capitals. And then it goes back, and then all capitals, South African land race.
Listen, if you're listening to this podcast and you do reviews on Leaf or the weed that you're smoking, stop reviewing shit high, please. Everybody needs to stop reviewing things high. Every week we read a review and it's poorly spelled and we don't even know what half of them are fucking saying.
See, like this one. This taste was awful, and so was the smell. I'm sorry, but this one is a no-no. Like, okay, let me know you didn't like it.
This one's a no. I like the no-no
Bro,
part.
I didn't see this one when I was looking through the reviews. My girlfriend threw up from this weed.
What have you got us into?
I don't know. I've been picking some dark strain. Remember the one?
Some dark strains.
You remember, I think it was last week, all the ones where people were just giving it negative reviews and shit?
Yeah.
I've only ever seen... I didn't know you could throw up from smoking weed. And then...
I never have. Yeah, it's never been a thing for me. And I'm not saying that to be cool. It's just I didn't know that was a thing.
I had a friend... I won't tell the full story. I'll tell you when we're done here. But I had a friend took a dab hit with my little seahorse dab pen I have. Yeah. And you know how it is. You always tell everybody, oh, don't pull that hard. And everybody, he just started coughing, and he's like, he put his finger up, and then walked over to the curb and just went.
Oh God!
I was like, wow. I was like, I've never thrown up from weed before. Now, when I've mixed it with alcohol at your house, I did throw up. But by itself, weed just made me throw up.
I guess it depends on the way it's consumed, because I told you about the dude Shad that fucking threw up in my gas mask.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That did happen. So I'm going to tell the story real quick because I don't think I've told this on the podcast before.
I'm pretty positive you haven't.
Okay. So I had a gas mask. That's one of those, for you smokers listening, you'll know there's those gas masks that have that
the roller.
What's it called? Like a steamroller. Yes, the steamroller that you pull on the front of it. And my wife had gotten it for me as like a gag gift for like my birthday, and we were really using it hard. I was getting fucked up on that thing.
Oh, I remember using that.
Yeah, we would get fucking wrecked on that thing. It worked, and we moved into our new location, our new home, and a neighbor across the street was helping us score some weed because we didn't know the neighborhood well and or where to get it. And he comes over, and so of course we offered to smoke with him because he just found us some weed. And so we pack up the gas mask and everything, and he's like, "Oh my god, I want to hit this, I want to do this," and I'm thinking, okay, he's hood, so he can take this, he's cool. And first hit, he's like, "I don't know how to work this," so I'm helping him like put his hand over the end of the steamroller and lighten it for him, and he takes a hit, and then I just see like the eyes of the mask just go completely solid white, and I went, "Oh shit, he took way too big of a hit." And then I just and then I just heard him go. And I saw all the smoke go away. It just vanished. I could see his eyes again. So it was clear. And then I just heard, and then just eyes full of throw up. The whole mask full of throw up. In the eyes of the mask. Dude, I don't know how that happens. The mouth has like a seal around it. But the shit was in the eyes of the mask. And I remember I was like guiding him like with a broom handle out of my front door. And he just fucking walks out onto my porch because he can't see. And just fucking, just pulls the mask off his face and just all this shit just splats out all over the fucking porch.
I forget, did you throw the gas mask out after that?
Yeah, that was it.
I was going to say, you're not getting that smell out.
I would never use it again after that. No, I literally just was like, you could just toss that right in the trash. I made him throw it out while he was outside. Not even playing that.
He should have at least bought you a new one.
Yeah, well, no offer on that, but, whatever. Anyway, you going to load us up?
Yeah.
All right. So I'll get into today's current events. We have this week it was announced that Gary Doberman's Salem's, he's the dude who did Annabelle Comes Home. His version of Stephen King's Salem's Lot is hitting HBO Max or Max in October. It was originally slated to come out back in 2022 in like September. But then it got bumped to April of 2023, and then it's just been lost in limbo. And everybody's been like, there's so many people that are Salem's Lot fans out there that are like, where's this movie at? Like it's made, and they're just like, it keeps getting bumped, and like, is it going to be stuck on the shelf in limbo? When's it going to get released? And now I guess finally they decided to just completely axe it from theaters and just say, fuck it. We're going right to streaming. So unfortunately, it's not getting a theatrical release like it was meant. It was meant to be a theater movie, but it's going straight to Max. And it still takes place in 1975. It still follows the book. So it's still, if you're a fan of the original Salem's Lot, this supposedly is a very faithful reboot. And Stephen King himself has seen it and praised it. So I have hopes for it. I kind of wish I could have seen it in theaters. How do you feel?
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen it in theaters. We'll see.
To me, personally, I've said this before. I know your favorite vampire movie is Fright Night and mine's The Lost Boys, but not talking like personal favorites. I think Salem's Lot is the scariest vampire movie.
For sure.
I can't think of
it. I don't know.
30 Days of Night was cool and it was violent, but this, like Salem's Lot vampires are fucking scary because they're old school, but they're just so gnarly and primal.
It's funny. I still say one of the scariest vampire films is still the original Nosferatu, and I think because it's a silent film.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, that movie still creeps the shit out of me.
I can't wait to see the Robert Eggers one, dude. That shit.
Dude,
looks so good.
I probably said it on the
before
podcast.
You saw Romulus? Did they play it? Because they played it for me.
I don't know if it was on Romulus, but I have seen the trailer. It still just bugs me, man, because Willem Dafoe should be Nosferatu. Like, he's in the movie. He's in the movie.
I know.
Like, I love Robert Eggers, but like, come on, man! Like Willem Dafoe would be, he'd be such an amazing Nosferatu.
Well, Bill Skarsgård needs the bounce back after the Crow just flopped this weekend. So,
I saw somebody. They said, "Hey, I got a private showing of The Crow. You know how you do it?" I went to the theater. I purchased a ticket. And I was the only one there.
Yeah, I will never support that movie or see it. I'm glad that it bombed, but I have hopes that he'll do a good job as Nosferatu. I don't know, he looks creepy the way you can see that he has hair. He has some hair, and the dog part. I don't remember him having a dog, and it's been a long time since I've seen Nosferatu. I don't remember the dog part, but I saw he has a dog in this one, so we'll
Did
see.
you? I don't think we discussed this, but did you see about the Friday the 13th show?
We talked about it a couple weeks ago, but I haven't. No, what's
That they're replacing the showrunner. I
knew they were, but did they? I think they announced who it was, right? Or did they just?
Yeah, I forget. Oh man, I forget who it is at this point. But like, I was talking with someone and just like, what's the prequel series just leading up to his drowning?
It's
Because
supposedly about,
the original showrunner, I wish I could remember the
Brad
names.
Fuller.
Yeah, Brad Fuller.
Brian Fuller, yeah.
Or, yeah, whatever. He, that's why he got fired over creative differences.
Because what?
Over just creative differences.
Yeah, that's, well, I thought that he left the show. I didn't know he was fired, but
I mean, they didn't say what it was. But, yeah, I don't know. It feels like all the old slashers are all just copying each other at this point.
So, okay, here we go. Caleb Kane is the Caleb Kane is the new showrunner, and he okay, so yeah, it says right here that he was fired. You're right, Fuller was fired from the Okay, so this is new details. I did not know this.
Yeah, I saw it this week.
Okay,
but yeah, what I was saying, I feel like just all the slashers are copying each other at this point. Hey, we're going to ignore the other movies in the franchise except the original. We're going to get a video game. Now we're making TV shows. Like, it feels like they're just like, oh, that worked for them. Let's try. It's almost like it's the slashers back in the 80s.
Yeah, like
where it's like, oh, that worked. Let's try this.
Yep. Scream is the first one to cash in though. After Halloween, Scream was like, oh, let's have a try. Scream was ready.
And then I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre did it.
Yep.
Or actually, Leprechaun Returns. Was that after Halloween?
That was before. Now we're just bullshitting talking.
I know we're just talking shit here at this point.
Now I want to say, hold on, look this up.
Because I mean, Halloween.
I think Halloween Returns was 2017 or 16 for Leprechaun Returns.
Was it?
Let's see, 2018, same year.
Oh, same year.
Same year. Okay.
So you had Halloween and Leprechaun do that. Ignore everything except the original. Texas Chainsaw Massacre did it. Jason got a video game, so we'll put Michael in Dead by Daylight, and he'll end up getting to his own games. Texas Chainsaw Massacre got one.
Yep.
It just feels like the slashers are just copying each other. It's like the 80s.
Well,
it's a 40-year cycle.
Well, speaking of slashers that aren't copying current trends or old trends, rather,
I didn't even spark this.
The poster for Terrifier 3 has officially been revealed by Creepy Duck Design, and it's awesome.
Nice.
It's a big close-up of Art's face with him holding an axe, and his face and bloody teeth are reflecting in the blade of the axe. It's a very cool poster. We're going to put that on our Instagram, so make sure you check that out for those of you who are Terrifier fans, and just in general, if you want to see a cool-looking poster. I cannot wait for this movie. So again, the movie comes out October 11th, and man, yeah, I can't wait. That's one. They're doing double features. They're doing Popcorn Bucket, supposedly. They're doing Terrifier 2 and 3 double bills. So I'm sure I'm going to be at the theater probably 2-3 times for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. I can't wait for it to come out. I mean, we like the first two. I always forget it. I know we've talked about it. You like 2 better?
I do like to. Okay. It's hard. I like this. It's like I like the simplicity of the first one.
I think that's why I like it more.
I like just the epicness of 2, the kills, and just how you watch that movie. It's so brutal, and you're just like, how could it get any worse? How is there still 40 minutes left? And then there's still 40 minutes left, and I don't know. I just right now I'm gonna say 2, but like in a week I might change my mind. But yeah,
it's like The Godfather.
They're both really good. Yeah, they're both really good, and that's one thing that you can count on is just having a really good slasher. But real quick, before we move into Quadrant, talk about Quadrant, the episodes. The point of the episode is where to you do you think Terrifier and the second one rank amongst like the greatest horror slasher films, in your opinion? Like, because you're a big Terrifier fan too, so we're both big Terrifier fans.
Are we talking about just
in
like
your own
like the
personal,
big franchise?
Yeah, if you were talking,
slashers?
if we're talking like you're listed like some of your favorite slashers, and you're talking like The Burning, and like The Prowler, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween. Dude, there's only a few more you can name before Terrifier pops up. I feel like it really kind of worked its way up there.
I mean, the original Friday the 13th, I'd probably take Terrifier.
Well, I'm just saying in general,
Yeah.
Terrifier's in like, where does it rank in like your
I mean,
say,
everyone
top
you
20
named, I
slashers?
would put ahead of Terrifier. But yeah, I'm trying to think of some other ones after that.
You said everyone I've named you'd put ahead of Terrifier. I would too. Yeah. That's why I said once you get through them,
You
though,
said you did say The Burning, right?
yeah. Like, I would put Terrifier above like Prom Night.
Oh yeah,
You know what
sure.
I mean? I would put Terrifier above Prom Night. Pretty much anything after like the first handful of like
Did you say Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
the original. No, I didn't say that one.
People probably going to get mad, but that
You like
one's close.
Terrifier?
That one's close. Joe Bob, I don't know. I think Joe Bob would be mad at us.
Just my point being that Terrifier has worked its way up on our list. I think most people's list of like favorite slashers, and it's pretty crazy because it's an ongoing series, and they definitely stand out. Like like
Yeah, 'cause
I'm
I'm
looking at I'm looking at the shelf the other day at my movies, and I'm looking at my Maniac 4K, and I'm going the Joe Spinell Maniac, the original, and I'm thinking, man, I should watch that movie, and I go, that movie's so fucked up, and then the first thought that I had is I was like, man, Terrifier makes Maniac look like a PG movie, and I'm like, Terrifier really separated itself from the rest of the, Victor Crowley and the Hatchet movies, they tried.
I was just about.
But
I was
they
like, I
didn't-
was going to say I'd probably put it over Hatchet.
For sure, but the gore in Terrifier, I think, and the brutality of it was what took that movie next level. Like, that's what separated it, because there's just nothing else like it. There really isn't. Like, I'll take, people are like, look at the Song of Solomon, the American Guinea Pig series, that Unearthed Films puts out, and it's like, watch the bedroom scene in Terrifier 2. It's like it's up there with some of the most brutal horror movies, but it's pretty cool, man. Yeah. Anyway,
I was going to say, I'm sure I'm probably forgetting a couple. Yeah, so I would say it's like top 15, top 20 at the worst.
At the worst, yeah. Worst for me, I'd say it's probably worked its way into my top like 11, and I'm talking like after like the Friday the 13th Part 4s and the Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween. Yeah, once you get through those, I mean, I would put Terrifier above a lot of slashers that I grew up with, but not above the handful of greats. But yeah, like I said, Prom Night. I'm trying to think of other slasher movies that I would like put it above, but none are actually coming to my head right now because
Yeah, we should probably.
the weed is hitting me. Yeah.
We should
Anyway,
probably just wrap
let's
this
move
up.
on to
It's
our.
been like 20 minutes.
Let's move into the plot of Quadrant.
All right. So today
Hold on. Before you start, no. Don't stop it. Nothing.
Okay. I thought you were trying to stop me.
Because I brain farted off that last hit that I took. I just wanted to clarify.
Hold on, I'll rip
A few
the ball.
slashers that I would put Terrifier ahead of that are classic slashers. Here's
Put
here's a
ahead
few for
or
me.
would put them ahead of.
I would put Terrifier ahead of.
Okay.
All right. Now I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this one. Black Christmas. I like Black Christmas, but I'd put Terrifier above it. Here's another one. Candyman. I'd put Terrifier above Candyman. I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah.
And
Scream.
here's two. Scream and The Strangers. Those are two.
The original Scream, like, I think it's well aware at this point, I am not a big fan of the Scream series.
Yeah.
But the first Scream series, like, I'll agree, it's a fucking classic. Oh, man, I don't know. Oh, that's close.
Scream's a better movie, but what would I rather watch?
Black Christmas
I'd
on
rather
just
watch
knee-jerk
Terrifier.
reaction, even though if I'm gonna,
I love
I will
Black
be
Christmas,
fair.
man.
I'll be fair. If I probably did break it down, I probably would go Terrifier, but just off nostalgia, knee jerk reaction.
I know
I'm
it's
going
almost
Black Christmas.
sacrilegious. I feel bad saying it.
I'm sure it's probably the same way people. Okay, I don't want to speak for everybody, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like you
Yeah.
can make. I think Terrifier's better, but I also could understand people that have that, like, oh no, it's not better than Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Scream's close. I would probably.
Well, like I said,
The original Scream.
But which would you rather watch?
Scream.
You'd rather watch Scream
The original
than
Scream?
Terrifier?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, like.
There you go. I'd rather watch Terrifier.
I feel like it's one of those movies, although I feel like as I've pointed out, the movie was already ruined for me. Sixth Sense. I feel like it's one of those movies that, like, after it's figured out, so to speak, people don't, on rewatches, don't really remember how, like, oh shit, like, when you find out there was two killers.
You mean like how, like, the realization of how good the movie is?
Yeah. Like you've seen it so much that, like, that twist of the two killers,
yeah,
and,
desensitized
and it's Billy,
to it, yeah.
even though, like, you got the, like, everything, you kept wanting to say it was Billy, but everything was like, no, it's not him. And then you're like, oh, fuck, it's two of them. Like,
no, I agree. It's definitely.
I feel like that gets kind of lost now for people that, after you've seen it several times, that you just don't maybe appreciate.
You kind of forget the brilliance of it. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's kind of like, I feel like people with Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. No, but the thing with me is that I feel that the reason I say I'd rather watch Terrifier is because it would just, like, Terrifier is an easy watch. It was Scream. I love Randy, but I just can't see myself watching Scream like 4 days in a row and hearing Randy's ramblings. It's just like Scream can kind of come off as having its head up its own ass too often if you watch it often enough.
Fair
so
enough.
It's kind of, Terrifier is just kind of simple, but you're not going to hear me say, there's those critics out there that are like, oh, he did not. And I'm like, I did. I did say that, but you're not going to hear me say that Terrifier is a better written or smarter movie or a better acted movie or a better directed movie. Terrifier is the worst movie on any way you look at it. Like, it doesn't really measure up at all, actually. But I'm just talking pure enjoyment wise. I'd rather throw Terrifier on.
Fair enough.
Anyway.
All right, so that was another 4 minutes of the discussion. Anyway, so yeah, Quadrant. That's why we're here. Not analyzing Terrifier versus other slashers. I mean, fuck, we could have probably did a whole fucking episode just on that.
We just might.
Anyway, so Quadrant. This is usually where we do our breakdown of the plot.
Yep.
But with the interview with Charlie Band, he pretty much goes through the plot and pretty much lays everything out. You can get all your information there. So we're just going to go into our review of the movie, and I'll kick it over you to over you, Drew. I'll kick it over to you, Drew.
I know what you meant. Yeah, Charlie even tells. He even goes into where you can watch the movie and when you can watch it. So, kind of made our jobs really easy on this one. Thank you, Charles.
Yeah.
So I guess you want to go first. You want to do?
I just kicked it over to you to give your review.
Yeah, I'm over here. Okay, all right. So what
you didn't know what I meant.
So my review, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I really appreciate how Full Moon is still doing new things and isn't just content on sequels to existing series. Making a slasher in a virtual reality setting and tying in Jack the Ripper, sign me up. It's a fun ride and it goes by fast. It's a fast watch, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, it's a nice short watch. Everything like we've said doesn't need to be feature length. I like the, got the fucking phlegm in the throat there. Ha ha. Ha ha. All right, there we go. I like the VR world where there was like, because it was set in the 1880s, it kind of had like the black and white, but then like the people were in color. It really added to it. And as Charlie says during our interview, this movie's got plenty of boobies in it. So if anything else, it's got boobs. I kind of joked. It felt like I guess it's more erotica, but I felt like it's a softcore porn.
Yeah, for sure.
That was not me complaining either. But yeah, the Jack the Ripper thing's interesting. It's basically, I mean, even Charlie alludes to it. It's like the first Full Moon slasher.
It's a slasher in a virtual reality.
Setting. So really Full cool. Moon always going with the new things on the digital frontier. It feels like, and I enjoyed it. It was 89 minute runtime.
It was about an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it felt perfect for this kind of film. You're in, you're out. That's what she said. I would give it 7.3 out of 10.
Okay. All right, well, now that the reviews are in, let's speak to the man himself, Charles Band, and talk about Quadrant. Today's guest needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He's the godfather of B movies and the man behind Full Moon Features, the studio that brought you the great films like Puppet Master, Ginger Dead Man, Evil Bong, and a whole hell of a lot more. Welcome, Charles Band. It's an honor to have you on High on Horror.
Thank you. I've heard that term recently, the godfather of horror. It sounds so silly, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
And we always like to ask our guests, what got you into the horror genre?
Well, as a kid, I grew up in Italy, so, and back then there was basically no television. Occasionally there was a revival house in Italian that would show some classic horror movies, but I also grew up with a lot of the great Italian horror movies. But as a family, we'd go back to the States every year or two and visit friends and relatives. And on one of those early visits, I think I was 6 or 7, I saw that same year The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. So that made me super excited about stop motion and Ray Harryhausen. And that same year, my father allowed me to stay up late and watch a local channel where they were screening the original Frankenstein, albeit cut up because God forbid anybody see the monster throw the girl in the lake. And that just freaked me out. I mean, just the concept of bringing human tissue and human parts back to life. So I had this sort of love for both sci-fi and horror. And, I grew up on a movie set, so I was lucky enough to be in that world. My dad made movies in Sweden and Spain, in Italy, and the former Yugoslavia. So, I knew the craft. I knew I wanted to make movies, and I definitely knew they were going to be either sci-fi, fantasy, horror movies. And I learned early on my first movie, my first horror movie, because I made a weird movie before I made my first horror movie, which taught me not to stray. And then my second or third movie, one was a car crash movie and one was a sci-fi movie. And, the canvas for a sci-fi movie is more expensive, and somehow horror movies, as I eventually evolved into making movies with puppets and dolls and weird creatures coming to life, that was more manageable. So, if money was no object, I probably would have made by now more sci-fi movies. But I'm happy with the body of work, and it's crazy now that I'm doing all these interviews. It's crazy to think that Quadrant, which was my first movie under the pulp noir sub-label, is my 400th movie, which is like mind-boggling because you don't stop. You can't stop in this business. If you stop, you grow old and fade away. So I'm just rolling down the weird possessed track, and then suddenly you stop, you start talking about it, and you think, wow, how did that happen? So there's a long-ass answer to your question, but I love both subgenres, and I've made movies in both, but leaning more towards horror.
Yeah, now you brought up that this is the 400th feature for Full Moon. Right. Did you ever think you would get to that number?
I never thought of it that way. I think you just keep going, and then suddenly it's like, fuck, that's a lot of movies. In my conference room here at our offices in LA, I have a board that's probably 8 feet tall and 20 feet long. And it literally has, we're behind in terms of pasting up covers in the movies, but it has every movie from number 1. The board goes through 400, but we're 10 movies behind and putting up the little poster art. So you can actually look at that board and go, okay, that makes sense. And it's a weird combination of, again, fantasy, sci-fi, and then there's occasional moments of like kind of weird, sexy movies, because I made some of those to survive back in the day. So we have movies like Virtual Encounters and Femalian under the Surrender Cinema label. So classic. There's a smattering of erotica throughout my body of work, but you don't really stop. And yes, when I decided to go forward with pulp noir, and I number every movie. I'm a collector at heart, so everything's got to be numbered, right? And I started with number 1, and now I go, fuck, it's 400. But I kind of thought that was cool that the first pulp noir movie, Quadrant, is number 400.
And that's my next question to you, Charles, is can you tell us about the new production label, Pulp Noir?
Yeah. It's exciting because I wanted to make a series of movies that are, edgier and darker and weirder with more boobies. I mean, let's face it, that's kind of the ingredients that I most enjoy. And I keep making movies that I would like to watch. People ask me like, well, you should maybe diversify and make this kind of movie and that kind of movie. And I'm getting feedback from, the outlets that are saying, well, you should do this and more of that. And I go, I never, during the periods of certain subgenre movies being very popular, I never made those. So when, for many years in the 80s, early 90s, slasher movies were doing well, and there were so many of them, and everyone was like, you got to make a slasher movie. How come you never made a slasher movie? It just wasn't interesting to me. The stories weren't interesting. And, everybody was making whatever, Friday the 13th and 9 different copies of, slasher films. I mean, plus I like the fantasy element. I mean, if you want to see people getting cut up with knives and shit, just turn on the TV. That's the world we live in. So I like the fantasy element. Now, ironically, one could say, well, I think, Charlie, you made your first slasher movie with Quadrant, because it kind of is. I mean, it's got a fantasy element. That's why I like it. But it is about a girl who channels Jack the Ripper. So I wanted to make this line of movies that were, again, darker and edgier. I had a bunch of story ideas that I thought would be cool. Each one sort of introduces a current element. So you go, well, Quadrant about someone who channels Jack the Ripper, but she does it because of this lab that she goes to, and they're trying to help people conquer their fears. And she puts on this virtual helmet and is able to imagine going back to London circa 1880 and observing Jack the Ripper and his really violent kills. And then, of course, I don't want to spoil the story because I'm really proud of the movie, but she gets all inspired and literally turned on and then starts doing similar things in the real world. I mean, it's about a female serial killer who channels Jack the Ripper. And I have actually shot my 401st movie, just since we're talking about Paul Noir. It's called Death Streamer, and that'll be out for Halloween. Again, It's got a good spin on it because, yes, it's a classic vampire tale, which I love. Decadent vampire lives in this opulent mansion and has a kill room downstairs where he brings his victims. But in addition to killing them, he live streams their deaths, and that gets transmitted to a bunch of people, and there's a whole story involved. And so, yes, it's a cool vampire tale, but it's got a little modern spin. And the reason why I think it's cool, in addition to the story and the acting and all the stuff we put into it, is those glasses that he wears, the vampire wears to live stream his deaths, actually exist. Now, we tricked them out and made them look a little evil and fanciful. But what gave me the idea is about 5-6 months ago, I read that Meta and Ray-Ban did a joint venture where they created these glasses, and they look like sunglasses. You can put them on, you push a button, and in 4K it live streams whatever you're seeing. And then if you want to record a minute, there's another button, and you can record up to a minute of content. So I, of course, ordered them right away. I had to check these out. And it's really interesting, the picture that came through, and how if you put them on and you walk through a couple of rooms, you go, all right, well, it just kind of looks like somebody shooting a video. Until you go in front of the mirror. And in front of the mirror, you're looking, there's no video, there's no hand. You're looking at yourself with these glasses, and they're recording whatever you're doing or looking at in the mirror. So I thought that was a cool element. So I kind of worked that into a storyline and shot Death Streamer, which is actually number 401. It's the second of the Pulp Noir movies.
That's awesome. We can't wait to see it. And one thing that I wanted to bring up to you is that it seems like you have no problem keeping up with the times. With this being your 401st movie, even though you deal in low budget movies, that doesn't stop you from staying ahead of the curve with movies like Amy the Visitor and Quadrant, where you sort of tackle what's to come in terms of modern and futuristic technology. Do you feel that that's like a key in the longevity of your career in Full Moon?
Yeah, I like good stories. Again, as I said earlier, I don't really copy trends, but you got to kind of exist in the world, and some of these things are actually really neat. So, Amy, I think, was technically the first movie about an AI character who she turns out to be not very nice, and she gets jealous, and she has all these human characteristics. Now, a lot of people are making AI themed films, and it's not that that was the challenge or that's what was the inspiration. When it comes to Quadrant, what's cool about Quadrant is when our characters are in the quadrant world. Again, they're looking in through they got this weird helmet on. It's a virtual reality sort of vibe, and there's a lot we can do now with a combination of CGI and AI. I've never been a CGI fan. All full moon movies are real puppets and dolls and rod puppetry and stop motion animation. But if you're creating a
Fuck yeah.
virtual world, you're creating a virtual world. You got to go with what that technology is. And I think the AI and CGI works well because you're in this weird environment. So, as an example, in the first scene, our protagonist goes to London, and yes, if money was no object, the question is, we developed a virtual London, which I think looks really cool, and that's an AI creation. There's some CGI trickery in there. So if you hate AI and you say, oh, anybody uses AI sucks and stuff, my response is, well, there's only a few minutes in this movie where our people are in that world. Otherwise, it's a movie about real people, being obsessed or whatever you want to call it with this technology. And in the case of our girl, she's channeling Jack the Ripper, and she experiences all this through this AI or this virtual environment. But if the argument is, well, you shouldn't use AI, then what would be the alternative? Like building a street in London, the way it looked 150 years ago, putting aside the cost, which we can never afford, it wouldn't even serve I think the story well, or the fact that it is a virtual world, and a virtual world does not look like the reality we know it. So I like the idea of using that technology in that virtual world. I think it plays well. And we're able to do some pretty cool things with creatures and monsters. And, her journey and his journey, there's a few people go through that virtual world, I think play well. But to me, it's a character-driven story about these people who use or misuse this technology. And the only movie I can compare it to, although it's probably 45 years old, is Altered States. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that movie, Altered States. It's a sci-fi movie made in the 80s. It's been a long while. It was a terrific movie. If anybody wants to see a real good movie made in the early 80s, Altered States. And in that movie, our guy goes into this tank, this water tank, and hocus pocus, I won't repeat the story, but goes into this alternative universe and tries to solve problems and things. But then when he comes back, some of that sticks to him. So he becomes sort of a weird creature of sorts in our world. So that was probably a little bit of the inspiration for Quadrant, because I think you can do a lot with that. But in the real world, where 90% of our movie takes place, it's about these people and what they're going through. And I don't want to spoil the story, so I'll kind of shut up right now. But I'm proud of Quadrant. Turned out really good. It's a good ride. Wonderful actors. Have you guys seen it? I should have asked that.
Yes, we loved it.
We got a screener.
Yeah, we got a screener for it. We saw it about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, good. Well, I think we got very lucky with the actors. I think they're absolutely terrific. And the girl who plays the lead, Shannon Barnes, I mean, I don't know. She's a rare talent because I don't want to say too much. You're going to give away the story, but I think you believe her every which way. She's clever and dangerous, and I don't know. There's a lot going on with all those people, even though it's a small cast. So I'm really happy with the way it turned out.
And where did the title Quadrant, the name, come from?
Oh, that's a good story. So, with the exception of a handful of titles, all the titles and art concept, in many cases, logline, I've developed. That's all my stuff. And then I find wonderful writers to write the scripts. I can come up with a storyline or a premise. So I've literally got hundreds of titles and art, because it all begins with a good title with some kind of piece of art. And, this goes back to, the 70s, because back then it was the posters, and then it became the cover of VHS and DVD and Blu-ray. So I've got a title bank and an artwork bank. And in the 80s, there were a number of titles or movies I wanted to make. I made quite a few, so, that's a good thing. But one of the titles I never made, one of the movies I never made, was a movie I came up with called Quadrant. And that idea, which I think if you look somewhere online, apparently you can see some early artwork. You can see that people can find out what the concept and what the visual was. So that concept, that idea, was about a submarine, kind of like a haunted submarine with people, and that submarine goes through this sort of different dimension, and weird stuff happens on the sub, which was a cool idea. And I'm pretty sure we even had a script written. That didn't work out because not every movie gets made, and it was probably a budget issue. And I tucked that away as a good title and a good premise. So I've done this so much over the years, and every so often, um, one of my titles and one of my ideas, someone makes a movie, and presto bingo, there's my title. You can't copyright a title. It's sort of first come, first use, right? So there's been a few examples over the years. I had a script that I'll probably make one day. That was one of my favorite projects. It was sort of in the vein of Head of the Family, if you guys have seen Head of the Family, which is one of my favorite
Love Head of the
movies
Family.
that I've made. Anyway, it was a story of these dwarfs that run this restaurant, and super popular. Only rich people go to it. And the few obnoxious people who come to that restaurant disappear. And what happens is the dwarfs kill them and serve them up for dinner for the next meal. And the reason why I'm telling you this story is I had my favorite title of all was the title of this movie the script that I had written 20 years ago called Minions. And the reason why Minions work so well is because first, if you think of the word Minions, you can put it into kind of a French letter style. It sounds like a restaurant. Minions. Oh, let's go to Minions tonight. Sounds great. Plus, Minions means, little people, diminutive people. So it was the best title ever. Then, of course, one day I open up the paper and Disney's releasing Minions. So I got fucked with that title. But luckily, Quadrant never got used. So when I wanted to tell the story of this virtual sort of reality thing where these people go and try to cure their nightmares and then wind up, in one case, in trouble, I thought Quadrant would be a good title. So even though this movie has nothing to do with a submarine, it's at least using a title. It's one of my favorite titles that I was lucky over the years no one used. It's a really good title. So I was always thinking, God, one day someone's going to make a movie called Quadrant, and I can't use that title anymore. But luckily no one did, and it's coming out on Friday. So.
And the design of the VR helmet, it looks badass. Did you come up with that?
I have a couple of wonderful effects guys I work with and physical effects. So I worked with kind of a steampunk vibe. I mean, I wanted it to be a little Orwellian, not look like, something that Apple created. So I worked with my physical effects guy and came up with a bunch of designs. We probably had 30 or 40 different kind of designs that I still have. And one day I'll put in a book or something. And then he built the helmet.
And do you have any plans for a sequel?
I hope so. I figure every movie I make is a potential pilot for a series. And it only happens if people like it and it works and enough people, view it. So it's like, oh, that people really dig it. It's set up as a sequel. I mean, obviously I won't spoil the ending. As most of my movies are. I mean, when I made Puppet Master, I had no idea the thing would be so successful. And here it is 34 years later, we made 12 of them. Now, had I had a really good crystal ball, I would have ended Puppet Master a little differently. I would have had more of an idea of how to continue a true series. But every time we made a Puppet Master movie, we kind of went in a different direction, thinking, okay, that's the end of that. And then it was successful again. Then, we got to make a third Puppet Master and a fourth. So if you look at all of them, they make no sense. Time, space, some are World War II, some are current day. But anyway, we have fun with the puppets. And I should say, as a closing note, that one of the things I'm doing is, firstly, you got to check out our Patreon page as it relates to Quadrant and the pulp noir movies. I'm really excited about that. Every pulp noir movie will be released in color. And I'm going to tell you what we're doing on Friday, but about a month or two later in black and white as well. Again, to do homage to what a film noir was, I'm shooting them with that black and white composition in mind. And if people like, let's say, Quadrant, they want to look at the black and white version in a month or two, they'll kind of get why we lit certain scenes the way we did. But the other thing I'm doing that's kind of neat and different, because you got to try to do something out of the box, otherwise you're one of 100 doing the same thing, is the way movies are usually released. are first they come out on streaming, so you have to subscribe to a site, or you can download to own, or you can rent it online. Then a few months later, it comes out on all the free sites like Pluto and Tubi, where you can watch the movie on Tubi for free, but you got to sit through the commercials. Then a few months later, it comes out on physical, so Blu-ray and DVD. So I thought, why not just capture this moment? And I think the audiences for each of these venues are different. So on Friday, when we release Quadrant, it's going to be released across all platforms all on the same day. So you can watch it on Amazon, on our streaming site. You can rent it. You can go to Tubi and see it for free. You can buy it on Blu-ray. You can buy it on DVD. And just for the fun of it, you can also buy it on VHS. I figure, why not? Let's have a VHS copy of this. And because I love that world, which is long gone, every VHS copy we sell, there probably won't be many, I'll sign for free. I have no problem doing that, just to, in some cases, let people hold a VHS, which young people never even know. I go to these conventions, and I recently went to Flashback Weekend in Chicago, and before that, Texas Frightmare. And we luckily have some young fans who are, 7, 8, 9 years old, something like that. And they're usually Puppet Master fans. So I'll ask, because we always have some odd VHS on our booth, I'll go, what is that? And they go, I don't know, what is that? I have to explain what it is. And I say to one recently, I said, hey, do you know what a video store is? And she said, yes, I think it's a place where old people go to rent movies. I said, yes, that's exactly what it is.
And we wanted to thank you again for joining us today to talk about Quadrant. And before we get out of here, where can people keep up with you and Full Moon online?
Yeah, just go to fullmoonfeatures.com. That's our streaming site. It's a great site. We not only have hundreds and hundreds of our movies, we've licensed another maybe 700 movies. If you want to go to the weirdest collection of cults, Euro trash, we have it all on that site. It's $6.99 a month, and by subscribing, you really support what we're doing. There's very few of us left. It's really us and Troma. That's kind of it. So, help keep us alive. Try the Patreon thing, because it's a really cool. The tiers are amazing, and one of them especially kind of gets you into the filmmaking process. You also get to have your name as an executive producer on all these pulp noir movies. You have to check it out. It's all there in the black and white. And if you want to buy a bunch of crazy merch from 1-to-1 scale replicas and action figures and blind box, and we have a really robust store. It's now in its 17th year. You got to go to fullmoonhorror.com. That's our store, and fullmoonfeatures.com is our streaming site.
Thank you again for joining us, and we wish you nothing but success on Quadrant.
Thank you.
And thank you again for talking with us, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, come back for around
Thank you, Charles.
for Death Streamer. These movies are not going to disappoint anyone. I don't want to stress the boobies, but they're all over the place. This is a horror movie.
We're all about it.
We're there.
There's no difference in this movie if I would have made it today, which I did, or this year, or in the 80s. It's the same vibe, the same sensibility, and I think people really enjoy what they're seeing.
All right, well, take care, Charles. Thank you.
All right, take care. You too, guys. Good luck.
Thanks to all the horror hounds and smokers out there for tuning in. And as always, if you like this episode, please like and subscribe. Definitely helps us out.
Big thanks to Charlie for coming on the show. It's an honor.
Yep, thank you to Charlie as well. And next week, we're going to be talking about face rapers. Of course,
that was good. You got me.
Of course, that means we're talking Alien Romulus. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about this one.
Yeah, man, I've been waiting to talk about this one for a minute. Let's do it.
High on Horror 420. Check us out: Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. I think that's all of them. I feel like I might be missing one.
You say that every week.
I know, dude. It's because it's in memory and I just rattle them off. I think that's good enough. High on Horror 420.
That's good enough.
High on Horror 420 at gmail.com for our PPA questions. Check out our website, highonhorror.com. And I guess that'll about wrap her up. Catch you later.
See you next week.